The sun rises over the ancient stone battlements of Windsor Castle, casting long, dramatic shadows across cobblestones that have witnessed nearly 7 centuries of uninterrupted British history. There is a specific kind of quiet that envelopes this fortress just before the gates swing open to reveal the full weight of the state calendar. It is a stillness thick with anticipation, where every rustle of the wind through the trees seems to whisper secrets of dynastic survival, elite selection, and the unyielding preservation of power. Today, the world watches as the monarchy prepares to stage its most exclusive, most sacred, and visually arresting ritual, an annual assembly that acts as a living bridge between the medieval past and the highly scrutinized present. This is not merely a display of wealth or public relations. It is a masterclass in institutional longevity, an elaborate chess game played in velvet and feathers, where who stands in the procession tells you everything you need to know about who holds the true keys to the kingdom. If you find yourself fascinated by the intricate inner workings, hidden conflicts, and grand spectacles of the British Royal family, take a brief moment right now to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an investigative update on these historic events. As the heavy wooden doors of the castle wards prepare to yield to a sea of brilliant blue velvet and nodding ostrich plumes, the atmosphere is charged with a tension that extends far beyond the thousands of spectators gathering along the barricades. To understand the gravity of what is about to unfold down Castle Hill, one must understand that this day represents the absolute pinnacle of royal honours, a highly restricted universe where entrance is granted solely by the personal favour of the sovereign. It is an occasion where every smile, every glance, and every physical position within the hierarchy is passed by experts and observers for signs of internal family dynamics and shifting global influence. The historic place of worship and spiritual home of this ancient order of chivalry, St. George's Chapel, waits at the bottom of the hill, its Gothic vaults and stained-glass windows, prepared to host an assembly that is as much about contemporary survival as it is about historical preservation. The King and Queen are poised to lead a full turnout of senior royals today, assembling a united front of the family's most prominent working members at one of the undisputed highlights of the palace calendar. Accompanied by the Prince and Princess of Wales, whose presence always commands global attention, as well as the tireless Princess Royal, and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, the family is determined to project stability and continuity. Joining them are the stalwart figures who have served the crown for decades, including the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester and the venerable Duke of Kent, representing a collective lifetime of public duty. Together, they form an unbroken line of royal tradition, preparing to step out from a private family lunch within the castle walls and begin the formal descent toward the chapel. Yet, beneath the seamless veneer of unity and the immaculate orchestration of the state trumpeters, a profound and deliberate absence looms over the entire proceedings. For the first time in memory, a significant figure who once occupied a central space in this very pageant has been completely and decisively erased from the fabric of the day. The complete removal of this individual from both the public procession and the private family gathering marks the culmination of a bitter, multi-year internal struggle that has reshaped the modern monarchy. For decades, attendance at this exclusive gathering was deemed an absolute right by those born into the highest echelons of the family, an unshakable proof of status that no public controversy could easily diminish. But as the procession forms up in the upper ward, the cold reality of a new era becomes impossible to ignore, signaling that the rules of survival have permanently changed. The historic walls of Windsor, which have harboured both the triumphs and the deepest scandals of the House of Windsor, provide a hauntingly beautiful backdrop for an event that is designed to celebrate honour while quietly enforcing the absolute consequences of dishonour. The contrast between those resplendent in their ceremonial vestments and the empty spaces left behind by the cast-out members of the dynasty creates a palpable undercurrent of drama that defines the day. As the bands of the household division strike their first notes and the military knights fall into formation, the stage is set for a profound exploration of what it truly means to serve the British crown in the 21st century. The heavy silence of expectation is broken as the grand procession begins its stately descent from the state apartments of Windsor Castle, moving slowly down Castle Hill toward the ancient stone gates of St. George's Chapel. The air is thick with the scent of polished leather, historic masonry, and the crisp June breeze that ripples through the magnificent blue velvet robes worn by the elite members of the most noble order of the Garter. This annual spectacle, nearly 7 centuries in the making, serves as the ultimate display of British statecraft and royal heritage, where every participant is dressed in garments dripping with historical symbolism. The members of the order move with a synchronized gravity, their wide hats adorned with towering white ostrich and black heron feathers, nodding in time with the deep, rhythmic beat of the military marching bands. Leading the entire procession with an undeniable air of sovereignty are King Charles and Queen Camilla, both looking exceptionally resplendent in their full ceremonial vestments, projecting an image of stable, traditional leadership to the global audience watching their every move. Beside them, the core structure of the modern working monarchy is fully displayed, featuring the Prince and Princess of Wales, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, and the Princess Royal, all marching in unified step. This visual alignment is designed to send a powerful message of familial cohesion and institutional resilience, reassuring the public that the ancient foundations of the crown remain unshaken despite any external storms. Yet, while the gaze of the crowd is naturally drawn to the shimmering velvet and historical pomp, the true tension of the day lies in the meticulous details of who is allowed to participate and who has been completely banned from this sacred circle. For non-members of the order, such as the Princess of Wales and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, the day involves a highly specific ceremonial role that is handled with immense grace and precision. These prominent royal women do not march in the main procession with the knights and ladies. Instead, they take up their traditional positions at the historic Galilee porch entrance of the chapel to watch the members pass by. From this elevated stone vantage point, the Princess of Wales, wearing a spectacular and meticulously crafted lemon coat dress designed by Patrick McDowell, can be seen smiling warmly and waving at the passing participants. Her elegant ensemble, featuring bespoke fabric woven in Suffolk by Stephen Walters and Sons and topped with a sophisticated Jane Taylor hat, serves as a masterclass in modern royal style that honours traditional British craftsmanship. Beside her, the Duchess of Edinburgh looks equally stunning in a beautifully tailored white and pink floral dress, the two women sharing light-hearted whispers and genuine giggles that contrast sharply with the rigid, military precision of the unfolding parade. As the Prince of Wales marches past in his full Garter robes, the Princess of Wales gazes toward her husband with clear pride, before performing a flawless, deeply respectful curtsy to her father-in-law, the King, as the sovereign marks his arrival at the chapel gates. But as the joyful music of the Band of the Irish Guards echoes across the cobblestones and the crowd cheers for the arriving royals, the heavy shadow of a total institutional banishment hangs over the entire event, impossible to ignore for those who know the history of the order. Conspicuously and permanently absent from this grand gathering is the former Duke of York, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, whose complete exclusion from every aspect of the day marks the final chapter in a long, painful royal downfall. For nearly 2 decades, having been appointed to the order as a knight companion back in 2006, the former prince considered this annual service to be an absolute birthright and a personal showcase of his high status within the dynasty. Even after being stripped of his official public duties and military patronages due to his involvement in catastrophic international scandals, he had stubbornly insisted on maintaining his presence at the private elements of the palace calendar. At previous gatherings, he had fought bitterly behind closed doors to participate, forcing a compromise where he was banned from the public walk, but still permitted to attend the private investiture and the family lunch inside the castle. However, the current sovereign has made it absolutely clear that half measures are no longer sufficient to protect the integrity of the institution, leading to a decisive and historic clearing of the royal ranks. The definitive turning point arrived when the king moved to completely strip his brother of his remaining titles, culminating in the formal and legal annulment of his Garter appointment on October 30th, 2025. This historic move resulted in the physical removal of Andrew's personal heraldic banner, sword, and helmet from the carved wooden stalls inside St. George's Chapel, effectively erasing his name from the ancient roll of knights. Royal sources have confirmed that this year marks the first time that the former prince has not attended any element of the day in any capacity whatsoever, indicating a total and permanent separation from the public life of the royal family. While his former peers celebrate the highest honours of the land at Windsor, Andrew is currently living in Norfolk, entirely cut off from the palace, while police continue to investigate serious allegations of misconduct in public office, charges that he still strongly denies. This stark contrast between the glittering, honoured figures marching down the hill and the total isolation of the banished former prince underscores the unyielding leverage the sovereign holds over the family's public standing. The king's message is unmistakable. Entry into this inner sanctum requires absolute adherence to public trust, and those who damage the reputation of the crown will find themselves completely cast out into the cold. As the procession finally reaches the doors of the chapel, the military knights of Windsor and the heralds, clad in traditional tabards, step aside to allow the sovereign and his companions to enter the sacred space. Inside the dim atmospheric interior of St. George's Chapel, where the light filters through magnificent medieval stained glass, the atmosphere shifts from a grand public pageant to a deeply solemn religious service. The service begins with the formal installation of 3 newly appointed companions, individuals chosen personally by the sovereign to fill the highly restricted vacancies within the order. This year's new members include the distinguished journalist and historian Lord Hennessy of Nympsfield, the former Cabinet Secretary Lord O'Donnell, and the former Lord Chief Justice Lord Burnett of Malden. One by one, these accomplished individuals are led to their assigned wooden stalls beneath the colourful heraldic banners of the current knights to take their sacred vows of loyalty and service to the crown. The congregation then joins together in the traditional words of the Lord's Prayer, their voices rising up toward the intricate stone fan vaulting of the ceiling, creating an intense feeling of historical continuity. Sitting in her designated stall, Queen Camilla looks exceptionally regal, wearing a beautiful white chiffon evening dress designed by Fiona Clare beneath the heavy folds of her dark blue velvet garter robe. The music of the household cavalry band fills the historic nave, reinforcing the idea that this order is not merely an archaic club, but a living instrument of national recognition and royal authority. Every detail of the ceremony, from the specific placement of the chairs to the order of the musical pieces, is executed with a flawless precision that leaves no room for error or individual deviation. As the service progresses, the initial intrigue surrounding the family's internal divides transitions into a profound display of institutional power, showing how the monarchy can seamlessly absorb conflict while maintaining its majestic public facade. As the solemn melodies of the religious service draw to a close within the historic stone walls of St. George's Chapel, the true significance of the most noble order of the Garter comes into sharp focus for the global audience, watching this grand finale. This ancient institution, established by King Edward III nearly 700 years ago, was originally inspired by the legendary tales of King Arthur and his mythical round table of noble knights. Today, it remains the oldest and most senior order of chivalry in Great Britain, serving as a powerful mechanism for the sovereign to personally honour individuals who have shaped national life, held major public office, or served the crown with absolute dedication. The membership is strictly limited to the sovereign, the Queen, several senior members of the royal family, and a maximum of 24 companion knights and ladies, making it one of the most exclusive groups in the entire world. By bringing together the highest echelons of hereditary royalty with accomplished leaders from the worlds of politics, law, academia, and public service, the order creates a unique network that binds the modern British state directly to the sovereign. Notable figures participating in today's ceremony reflect this diverse blend of national achievement, including former Prime Minister Sir Tony Blair, former Conservative Party Chairman Lord Patten, and the pioneering former diplomat and Labour peer Baroness Amos. The presence of these veteran statesmen, alongside cultural icons like the legendary composer Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber and former Prime Minister Sir John Major, highlights the profound role the order plays in anchoring the country's contemporary leadership within a framework of ancient tradition. Each of these individuals has contributed in a particular, lasting way to the fabric of national life, and their inclusion in this sacred ritual serves as a permanent validation of their public legacy. Beyond the political and cultural heavyweights, the ceremony also honours individuals of unique personal achievement, such as the legendary athlete and public servant Lady Mary Peters, who attended the service alongside the Duke of Kent, demonstrating the broad scope of the sovereign's personal recognition. The order's famous emblem, a dark blue velvet garter, circlet embroidered with the gold motto meaning, "Shamed be the person who thinks evil of it," serves as a constant reminder of the high moral standards and unyielding loyalty demanded of those who enter this exclusive brotherhood. For the modern monarchy, the successful execution of this annual ritual is not just about celebrating the past. It is a vital demonstration of institutional survival, continuity, and adaptive power in an era of constant social change. As the service concludes and the congregation prepares to depart, the seamless transition from the private sacred space of the chapel back into the public eye begins with an immense display of traditional pageantry. Following the conclusion of the prayers and installations, Their Majesties King Charles and Queen Camilla, alongside the other senior members of the royal family, prepare to make their return journey to the upper wards of Windsor Castle. Emerging from the dim, atmospheric interior of St. George's Chapel into the bright June sunshine, the royal party is greeted by the spectacular sight of the household cavalry and the lifeguards standing on parade in flawless formation. The King and Queen, still resplendent in their heavy velvet plumes and towering ostrich-feathered caps, lead the family toward a line of open horse-drawn carriages waiting to transport them up the hill. This carriage procession represents the final, grand visual climax of the palace calendar highlight, allowing thousands of gathered spectators to catch a close glimpse of the sovereign and the senior working royals in all their ceremonial glory. The Prince and Princess of Wales, sitting together in their carriage, wave warmly to the enthusiastic crowds, their visible confidence and immense popularity serving as a powerful reassurance of the monarchy's future stability. Beside them, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, along with the Princess Royal and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, complete the majestic convoy as it winds its way back up Castle Hill, flanked by a magnificent mounted escort of the sovereign's escort. This public display of unity and tradition is carefully designed to completely overshadow the internal family conflicts and structural reforms that had dominated the behind-the-scenes preparations for this historic day. The absolute absence of cast-out figures is no longer a source of active tension, but rather a settled reality, demonstrating that the institution has successfully purged its liabilities and moved forward into a new chapter of public service. By enforcing strict consequences for those who compromise the integrity of the crown, the sovereign has reinforced the idea that royal status is an honor that must be continuously earned through duty, rather than a permanent privilege of birth. The immaculate choreography of the departure, set to the stirring martial music of the military bands, leaves a lasting impression of a dynasty that is entirely in control of its destiny, capable of honoring its deepest roots while ruthlessly adapting to the demands of the modern world. As the carriages finally pass through the heavy iron gates of the castle's upper ward and the public applause fades into the distance, the ancient fortress once again closes its doors, safeguarding the centuries of history contained within its walls. The annual service of the Most Noble Order of the Garter stands complete, having fulfilled its dual purpose of honouring national excellence and projecting the absolute majesty of the British sovereign. The living bridge between the medieval knights of Edward III and the 21st century constitutional monarchy remains entirely unbroken, fortified by the grand pageantry, the strict enforcement of institutional standards, and the unwavering dedication of those who wear the blue velvet robe. The story of this day is the story of the monarchy itself, an institution that survives not by remaining static, but by knowing exactly when to hold fast to tradition and when to clear the ranks to protect the crown.